enjoy the podcast too.
What is up, everyone? It is Tuesday night, and you know what time that is. It is time for TCR Live, where we talk about all that's going on with the other Arizona Cardinals in this week. And I am delighted to be joined by two really awesome folks. I am joined by Jay in the Bay. What's good, Jay?
What's good? Hey, it's a pleasure to be on with you tonight, TCR and Legend of Tyler. Glad to be on to talk some Cards and Niners, man. I'm excited to be on with you guys.
Awesome. Always love doing collabs with you. Just a really good dude. I'm glad to have you here. And Tyler writes for AZ Sports Underground, does the Chirp and Yotes podcast. He does great stuff with the Coyotes, but he's also an all-around Arizona fan. So here's here repping the Cardinals, and you got a little something there, Mr. Tyler.
Buda Baker action, baby.
Ooh,
Freaking show. My camera's kind of in a whack place, but yeah, big fan. So
how you doing today, Tyler?
Doing good. Just had a good shift at work, ready to talk some Cardinals football. So, and 49ers football, of course. So
right, of course. Well, let's say hey to some of the folks in the chat that are with us. We got Classy Nasty, made it. Appreciate you being here. We got Grandizer, always holding down the chat, doing what Grandizer does, supporting the content creators across the YouTube spaces. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you as always. Got Ron Boyd Bubble. What's up, gentlemen? We appreciate you. Robert Moore, another AZ Sports Underground fella, and couple of folks who are from the Discord. If you aren't part of my Discord server, join that today. There's a link below. There's like 200 Cardinals fans in there. There's always conversation in there. It's a good time had by all. Keith Davis, our most recent channel member. Let's go. My favorite Cardinals analyst. Thank you so much. You have been a longtime supporter, always very thoughtful, and appreciate you. Grandizer throwing up, what's good? Hot diggity dog. He knows you. And we have Jordan P., the aspiring analyst, does some good stuff on Twitter. Tomorrow's a big day. Dennis Daly is back, right? I know they talked about they released some players, and there's going to be some moves that I know Jonathan Gannon said, well, you'll see Wednesday what's going on. So they released a couple cornerbacks. So there's probably going to be a move on that front. We got Air News. Thanks for being here. Hey, glad I made it. I can make it. What's going on, Cards fam? Dana Robinson, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Cappy Worson Wilkinson, right? For sure. He's been rough. So we're going to get into it. Cardinals hung tough with the 49ers in the first half, and then the Niners pulled away. I'm going to tell you, Jay, I don't know if you see this on the outside. Cardinals fans are actually still kind of optimistic about kind of some things we saw, even though the outcome looked like a blowout, which kind of was, I guess, points wise. But Jay, just give us your kind of initial impressions as obviously you're kind of an outside 49ers fan, what you saw from the Arizona Cardinals when they made their way into Levi Stadium.
Man, I saw a team that has some weapons on it. You got Hollywood Brown, you got Michael Wilson. I mean, he showed what he can do on the big stage. He went to Stanford. He was playing back in Santa Clara, so good vibes there. But he scored 2 touchdowns on us. I think Dobbs had targeted him 7 times and completed 7 catches with him. So obviously they had a good rapport. James Conner. I mean, I know he didn't break like any big runs, but he did have a few carries where he had 6 to 8 yards per touch, and he's a big guy to bring down. He's a tough guy to bring down. I'm sure you guys saw at the end of the game with Huff and Connor kind of got into it. I'm looking forward to the next time we play. It should be very interesting. But I thought, Dobbs made some plays. I think the Niners defense, we struggle a little bit with mobile quarterbacks, but who doesn't, right? I mean, a lot of teams struggle with that, but he was able to make some plays. He was able to get outside of the pocket, use his mobility to his advantage. Sometimes he would run for first down. Sometimes he would run out the pocket and allow his receivers to get open, and he would throw receivers open. So Dobbs looks solid. I like what I saw from him. Gutsy call, 4th down. You guys go for a fake punt. I'm like, what the hell? But your head coach is Gannon, right? Last name Gannon.
Gannon.
Yeah. Yep. So he showed that, hey, we are the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, the Niners are a better team, but we're still gonna come up and play to the best of our ability. So that was a gutsy call on his part. But I think the Cardinals are a talented team. I just think the 49ers were just better that day.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think Cardinals fans have no delusions about the how our talent level compares to other teams. There's some nice young players. You talked about Michael Wilson. Guys like Keitrell Clark, who's a 6th-round pick starting. His performances have been up and down. Had a pretty decent game. There's some nice pieces, but we're in year one of a rebuild, right? And what I would say is our team doesn't have the horses to run with a team like the 49ers right now. But the coaching seems to be doing some nice things with what we have with, right? Tyler, what did you take away from this game when you kind of sit back and assess what you saw?
Actually, you said it perfectly. We don't have the horses yet, but our coaching, I mean, this team is far better coached. I mean, I can't tell you, I mean, the frustrations of last year were just the coaching. That was such a big just pain in the ass, if I may say.
Yeah.
And I was actually there last week at the Cowboys game, and getting to see Cowboys fans' hopes die in real time was also just very sweet, by the way. Very, very beautiful. I was sitting there in the away side, my whole family, they're Cowboys fans. So I was sitting enemy territory, deep in it, man. I had my helmet on and everything. We're out there, and just the better coaching. That's one thing I've noticed is just that. It's exciting to watch. We may have lost Sunday, but it was fun and exciting to watch that loss, if that makes any semblance of sense, because it wasn't just crap coaching. So that's okay. I'll take it.
And I've been saying this for a while, that the Cardinals are going to get beat because of talent disparities, but they're not going to get beat because of effort or coaching this year, I think. Yep. Right. And I think that's what we saw there. Right.
Absolutely.
And, and Jamie, one of my observations is it seemed like that they were exposing kind of the 49ers were exposing the Cardinals kind of deficiencies, in particular against the run game. Our linebackers struggled, our defensive interior line, a couple of players struggled. Do you have any thoughts on the 49ers game plan other than come out and just beat the Cardinals with better talent? But do you have any thoughts on what you saw the Niners do to attack the Cardinals?
Hey man, a healthy dose of CMC. I mean,
that boy is so good, man.
Yeah, man, he's incredible. Since we traded for him last year, and then with the emergence of Brock Purdy, it's like a match made in heaven. CMC had 4 touchdowns. I saw a play where he hurdled a defender, didn't break stride, kept running. Got a touchdown. Like he's incredible. And that's obviously Kyle Shanahan. That's what he wants to do. He wants to run the ball down your throat, at least 25 to 30 times. The knock on that is sometimes we overwork CMC. We don't allow Elijah Mitchell or Jordan Mason or TDP, Ty Davis Price, to get much run in the actual game. But CMC showed up and showed out. I mean, Brock Purdy was perfect. I mean, I don't remember the last time a 49ers quarterback was 20 of 21. I mean, it's just damn near perfect. So he was making reads. Ayuk was amazing. I think he had 6 catches, almost 150 yards. So I think we just attacked, the secondary of the Cardinals, and also, the D line and linebackers. Our offensive line going into the season, obviously we have Trent Williams, one of the better left tackles in the game. But the other guys, the 4 out of 5 guys along the other offensive line, they haven't really made their mark yet. They're all young guys, basically. Left guard, right guard are basically second-year players. The center is basically been a backup most of his career, and then our right tackle basically was elevated this year because we let Mike McGlinchey go last year. So relatively young offensive line, but I think they'll continue to get better as the season goes. But I just think when you have an elite talent like CMC, I mean, he makes everyone's job look easy, man.
Yeah, I'm going to say hey to a couple of the folks who've jumped in since we last did. Boston Fort, sweet panel, let's go. Also, he really likes your background. It looks sharp.
Appreciate that.
It's freaking awesome. Yeah, it is awesome.
So, right. So, Jordan P saying real quick, main observation is use all our picks on new DL. If we really don't have a legit starting DL on the team, injuries or not. Class S saying DL and OL.
Hey, I want to mention one of your edge rushers. Is his name Gardecki?
Dennis Gardeck, the Barbarian.
Yeah, he had 2 sacks.
Yeah,
I mean, he
that dude's dope, man.
Yeah, he made what's his name? Our right tackle. For some reason, his name is escaping me. But he made him look silly with the Dwight Freeney type spin move. You know,
Yeah, that was awesome.
And he caused a penalty on Trent Williams too. So
oh, nice. So Dennis Gardeck is a fan favorite with the Cardinals. You know, a
Oh,
couple
yeah.
of years, like 3 years back, I think he had like 7.5 sacks. Really high efficiency. He's a guy who was like an undrafted free agent, made his name as a special teams player, and really kind of worked hard to get there. And then like got some really nice production that one season, became a fan favorite. You know, everyone loves to root for that kind of a player. And then had some injuries. And coming into the season, I described him as sort of a forgotten man. Like we were kind of figuring out who our pass rushers going to be. We had a couple guys we drafted last year, Myjai Sanders, Cameron Thomas. We drafted BJ Ojulari this year, right? There was all these other edge rushers, and they even moved Zaven Collins to edge. And then lo and behold, you find out Dennis Gardeck's the starting outside linebacker, right? Starting edge rusher. And he's got 4.5 sacks this year. He's like amongst the league leaders.
Yeah.
So this wasn't just against the Niners that he did that. He's had a great year. The guy is fun to root for. So yeah. Tyler, what are some of your other observations, some things you noticed about this game and about this team?
Man, I mean, outside the coaching, that's my favorite. I just seeing it, I cannot get over that. I am just so happy that we seem to have a competent coach making whatever we have work. You know, I mentioned the Coyotes real quick. Same things with us. We have this coach now that has really brought the most out of what we have. You know, Clayton Keller became 86-point scorer. You know, so it's been great. That gets me probably more excited than anything. But I really liked, James Conner, as you mentioned earlier. Joshua Dobbs. I was calling him Tank Commander Dobbs. I really was. I was really like, hey, this is our tank guy. You know, salute you, sir. Thank you for piloting the tank. It's going to be a long year, but he has shut me up. I will be honest. If you see this, you know, Joshua Dobbs, my bad. My bad. I'm sorry. You have far surpassed what I thought you were here to do. And Michael Wilson. Yeah, I liked him a lot too. He's been really well. I mean, that touchdown was exciting. I got up and jumped mid-work, was like, holy shit, that was awesome. So, I mean, I really liking his play off the top of my head. And then I just miss Budda Baker. I bought his jersey and he gets injured. So I'm like, am I the problem? Is it me? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. So.
Yeah. You know, and a lot of fans were down on Dobbs after the first game with those 3 fumbles, right? You know, against the Commanders. And, you know, again, it was frustrating. But, you know, I think there were a lot of folks who were also, you know, recognize, hey, he just came in a week before, you know, so he's still adjusting to the building. But yeah, I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised by how well he's done. I thought he'd be okay. You know, he was a guy who has played in the system before. You know, everyone knows, you know, I think by now he's, you know, literally a rocket science major, literally a rocket
astronaut.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah, the guy was an aerospace engineer.
He's aerospace engineer.
Yeah. Brilliant guy, likable guy. His stuff on social media is hilarious. And, you know, a guy who I think people maybe underestimated, including myself, including yourself, Tyler. But he's done a great job. And, you know, there's a number of stats out there. There's one I tweeted out a couple of days ago, an advanced stat where he's kind of right in the middle of starting quarterbacks in terms of efficiency. And that's, you know, to have a guy who came in, you traded for him. He's a career backup, you know, and, you know, had a week in the building before he was the starter. To be middle of the pack in the NFL in certain metrics as a starter is really a win for this team right now. You know, I do think, you know, some people talking about, you know, sticking with him when Kyler gets back. You don't do that. I don't think Kyler has more upside. Kyler does things that Dobbs can't. But if you can keep Dobbs as a backup, man, that's a heck of a backup. And if you can't, you got solid starts out of the guy while you're building your culture. And if he goes somewhere else and finds, you know, an opportunity to start or something, listen, I wish the best for him. But, you know, it'd be nice to keep him as a backup. So Jay, what did you think when you looked at the Cardinals in terms of what do you think their game plan was? How do you think they tried to attack the Niners when you look at what the Cardinals did?
I think they definitely wanted to test our corners. I mean, outside of Mooney Ward is the best corner, but I think Ambry Thomas is a question mark. I think he has some good plays, and then he has other plays where in the game he got beat by Michael Wilson on a double move. So I think they definitely expose, parts of our secondary. And I think they tried to run the ball with Connor, but we have a pretty good run defense. I'm looking at Connor's stats. He had 11 carries, 52 yards. His longest run was only 11 yards. But I think they would have run the ball more, but they got down fast. So they kind of had to throw the ball. That's why Dobbs threw the ball, 41 times. So, I think they didn't have early success, early on. I think the halftime score was 21-10, I believe. So they pretty much were playing from behind and they kind of had to throw the ball. And I think with a back like James Conner, you want him to get, 25, 30 touches at least. But unfortunately, they weren't able to really do that because they got down early.
Yeah, for sure. Tyler, what do you think was the most disappointing thing you saw in the Cardinals? I mean, we're talking about the good things, right? Because we're Cardinals fans, but clearly they got beat 35.
Yeah.
I think it was. So what were some of the things that you thought stood out as some of the biggest issues and problems that you saw?
The only thing I really saw was just a lot of loss of that energy they had in the first couple of bits towards the end. I know we started getting kind of whooped towards the end, so I get it. You're probably tired and like, all right, let's just get on the plane. I want to go home. I'm ready. But that's really outside of that. But that just comes with, again, our pieces getting worn out and stuff. So other than that, outside of a few penalties here and there, just your normal stuff. Nothing too, well, at least for me,
Yeah, for sure. Decimus, thanks for being here. A long-time supporter of the channel. Weak positions really showed up. D-line and defensive backs. Completely agree. And Decimus often kind of talks about the trenches. A big believer in in his comments about building in the trenches, and I think we saw that we talked about that earlier. The defensive line, especially like Lecky Fotu had an awful game. His PFF grades were really bad. A couple of the defensive linemen were a little better, but inside linebackers graded really poorly, including Kaiser White, who's been good for us this year. And, got exposed, but then I think that also lacking the ability to get real pressure on Purdy and allowed him to find those open, those soft spots in the zone and find those open receivers downfield. And, Jay, you talked about what a game he had. So I think that was definitely a big part of it. Back to Constitution One. Thanks for being here, saying run defense or lack thereof. Yep, definitely. Yeah. San Francisco pass at will.
I would also mention we only had 5 third down opportunities, and that's rare. Usually, any offensive team on any given Sunday has at least a dozen or more, and we only had 5, and we converted 3 of 5. So I think that showed on the early downs we were able to get positive yardage, and we weren't stuck in like third and long situations. Even the Cardinals, they were 8 of 15 on third down conversion, which isn't bad. It's right under 50%. But I think that's another part of the game. We were able to, and this is something from a 49er fan perspective, the way Brock was throwing the ball downfield to Ayuk, like that's something that even when Jimmy was here, he didn't really do that often. Like we would normally have maybe 12 to 16 play drives. And with Brock Purdy there, we're able to get down the field in 4 or 5 plays, 6 plays, if that's the plan. And that was definitely something new to this offense. And I think Shanahan really trusts Brock. And I know Brock's only played a dozen games so far, but he's the moment isn't too big for Brock. I think you can see that when he plays. Even if there's a blitzer coming at his face, he still stands in there and makes the right play. And with Jimmy was here, it was don't make a mistake. That's what I thought. With Brock, it's like, okay, well, what is he going to do? Because we know he doesn't really make the big mistake. He only has a fumble so far. We only have 1 turnover as a team in the first 4 games. So, hey, I can't speak more highly of Brock. He's done amazing so far.
No, he's been a great, kind of revelation for them. And what I'm about to say will sound like an backhanded compliment or like I'm trying to take away from what Brock has done. But it does. But the Shanahan offense has a reputation for being quarterback friendly, right?
Yeah.
So you've seen quarterbacks who put up decent games who maybe weren't highly drafted quarterbacks. Purdy seems to fit though nicely. He seems to have taken to it. And so again, that's not meant as a knock at him, but there's been this, some people have talked about over the years, well, with how expensive quarterback contracts are and how much when you get off the rookie contract, how that really limits your ability to pay for other positions. And people have mused whether or not there would be a team out there that would kind of do the revolving door at quarterback and not pay someone big money. I don't necessarily know if that's what San Francisco intends to do, whether or not we'll see if they do or don't extend Purdy when it comes time. But if there's a team that would do it, it would be a Shanahan team. I know. I guess as a kind of building on, what do you think? Do you hear any rumblings in terms of, do they intend to try to extend him when that time comes, or is it?
I think if Brock continues to play like he does, there's no question. I think Brock would be extended. Shanahan really hasn't found his quarterback. We found a little bit of juice with Jimmy, but unfortunately he just wasn't good enough when we really needed him to. Fortunately he turned over the ball quite a few times, and there were certain reads he just didn't make where guys would be open, and we're seeing the exact opposite with Brock. Now, by no means, there's no doubt that Brock, we're lucky to have Brock. There's no doubt. I mean, we passed on him, a half a dozen times in the draft. He was the last pick in the draft. So we're super lucky to have Brock. But yeah, when he's a free agent, he'll definitely get re-signed if he continues to play. I mean, he hasn't lost a game yet since he started from, the beginning to the end of the game. So yeah, there's no doubt. And yeah, Shanahan's offense, I would say, is quarterback friendly, but I think any quarterback plays better when they have a complementary game. So you have a good running game. You got weapons on the outside. You got the best running back in the NFL. And then you have a play caller like Shanahan, who, I don't know what it is, but whenever Brock throws the ball, guys are just open. So whether that's the way it's schemed, which that's part of it, Shanahan knows what defense will be played. So he knows the exact play to call to take advantage of that defense, whether it's zone or man. But you can write up the best play, but the guys on the field have to execute it. And through the first 4 games, that's what we've seen with the 49ers. And I just hopefully it keeps up, because we've got I think the next 4 games are much more difficult than our first 4 for sure. So I think it's Dallas, Minnesota, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. So I think those opponents will be, a little bit harder for us for sure. So that would be another test for us. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and
Dallas,
go
difficult.
I think
I was like, Dallas difficult.
I mean,
well, some people are saying Cowboys overlooked the Cardinals, which is crazy to think in the first month of the season. Like, I mean, it's not like their season's over. There's no question Dallas is talented. Coaching wise, probably not, but
no, he's a bum.
Talented, and no one's afraid of Dak. I think we can all agree on that.
I'm terrified of Dak. He might drop my phone if I hand it to him. I'd be scared.
If you were a Cowboys fan, absolutely. Whatever he
does. Miserable, man.
I mean, the Niners-Cowboys rivalry goes all the way back, before I was born. And I can't wait for Sunday night prime time when we go against the Cowboys at Levi Stadium. But they're talented, especially their defensive front could definitely cause some problems for our young offensive line. And I'm looking forward to how it plays out.
Well, our defensive front wasn't going to cause you problems, or they sure didn't. I think this comment from Back to Constitution hits on, I think you talked about, Brock Purdy, the way he was able to kind of, dissect, the defense. Marco Wilson is our number 1 cornerback, and, he's a former 4th-round pick who had some nice stretches last year, showed some promise, has been up and down. He's had 2 good games and 2 bad games, and this was one of his bad games. And, he's a guy, as number 1 cornerbacks go, he's not good enough to be number 1 right now, right? He's a guy who has the physical tools. I think he's best suited more as a number 2, but if we're at talent wise, he's that. And then I mentioned the other cornerback, rookie Keitrell Clark, who's struggled, but he's been progressing and he has heart. But certainly, I think our cornerback situation, and then Jalen Thompson, who has been a safety for us, is actually playing slot corner a lot for us. And he had his worst game of the year. So, so I don't know how much of that those bad grades that they had are because the 49ers just kicked our butt, or how much of Brock Purdy having such a remarkable game was related to our cornerbacks having some of their worst games. It's probably some of both.
Some of both, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think it was a really bad combination, right? Our defensive line struggled to get pressure. Gardeck got his sack, the only sack we had. Our team, for as much as we don't have big name pass rushers, has done a decent job of getting pressure this year. So y'all held off the pressure. Our defensive line just couldn't get it, couldn't stop the run. And that was a bad situation for our cornerbacks, who were then out on an island. Brock Purdy picked them apart, right? Yeah. So there's another thing mentioned here. Robert mentioning penalties when against the Cardinals, lots of no calls against Niners. I'm not going to necessarily get into the whole whether the calls were fair or not, but I will say I did notice a lot more penalties against the Cardinals than we've had in the first 3 games. That last couple years, penalties were a concern, were an issue. It felt like the penalties had kind of scaled back some thanks to the discipline and the coaching. This game, a lot more flags and penalties, so that certainly seems like a little.
Yeah, I think you guys had nine penalties.
Yeah. So that's certainly an issue. Tyler, any other thoughts you want to jump in with here?
I was going to say, I mean, we probably would have had more penalties if Taylor Swift was playing against us. The Kansas City Taylor Swifts. I mean, those calls, I don't know if you guys saw that. That was egregious, bro. That was just absolutely. Those script writers aren't even hiding no more, man. They got their pen and paper out in the audience. I mean, it's not even. That was nuts. But we'll see. At least we played them in preseason, thank God. So
yeah. So Jay, when you look at what you saw from the Cardinals, like next game against the 49ers later in the season, assuming the Cardinals are going to be kind of the same team we are, but with our young players having a handful of more games under their belt, a little bit more experience, but we're not, some Pro Bowl defensive tackle is not walking in the door, right? Likely. Right. So, from the outside perspective, what are the Cardinals? If you were having to put together the game plan for the Cardinals to try to hang with the 49ers next time, what would you do?
Hey, that's a hell of a question. So it looks like we play you guys again December 17th. And that looks like that's going to be, of course, in Arizona. What I would do is kind of what you did in this game, which basically is attack the secondary. That's our weak point. Honestly, even Mooney Ward, he's not a shutdown corner. Could he start on any NFL team? Absolutely. But I think even there's some deficiencies in his game. And I thought Dobbs did solid in getting rid of the ball fast. I think that's another thing that teams have been doing against our defensive line. Obviously, we picked up Javon Hargrave. That was our big free agent acquisition this offseason. He had a sack in this game, but I think that's going to be key for every team that plays the Niners this year is get rid of the ball quick. Don't let Bosa, Armstead, Hargrave tee off on your quarterback. And then just keep throwing to Ambry Thomas because he will, he's a young cat. When we drafted him, I think I want to say it was a day two pick. He started off slow. He had a really good into his rookie season, and then he kind of fell out of favor. And we have a new defensive coordinator. You guys know him well, Wilkes. And he's kind of turned over a new leaf, and he had a good training camp. Ambry Thomas, I'm talking about, but hey, he's not perfect, and he still needs to get better. And I like what I saw from Michael Wilson. I mean, he looked good. He looked like he was happy to be back in Santa Clara. So yeah, that's what I would do. Get rid of the ball quick, whether Kyler's in there or not, to alleviate the pass rush, and then attack the secondary. But I guess defensively for you guys, that's a huge deal because you don't want to get behind early. You want to be able to run the ball with Connor, slow the game down. You guys actually won the time of possession. It wasn't by much. It was like by a minute. But I think that's how you beat the Niners. You just have long, extended drives, try to run the ball down our throat, and then limit your mistakes. The penalties obviously will hurt any team. But yeah, that's what I would do. Run the ball, get rid of it quickly in Dobbs' hands, and then you got to be able to score early and don't get down by a lot of points.
Of course, at that point, we would hope it would be Kyler.
Right.
Hoping so.
Yeah.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah. What's you guys' is there any recent news about that? I know it's only been a month through the season, and I think the deal is if he gets activated off the PUP list, he has like 21 days to practice, and if he doesn't start, then he has to go on the IR for the rest of the season, and there's no way he can come back.
Activated. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
He has his 21-day period has not been activated, right?
He has not.
No.
It's not. Okay, so he's still kind of rehabbing. So what's your guys' read on that? Do you think he'll come back this year, or
what do you think, Tyler?
I think so. I don't know if Dobbs' good play is not delayed it, but they don't feel the need to rush him back as fast. I think Dobbs is holding down the fort, so to speak, at least from my perspective. I think last I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, on this one, didn't they say he's not getting taken off, even though he could be taken off now, right? Because I think, but they decided not to for some reason, right? Didn't they have some reason, list a reason out or something? I don't know. I thought I saw something on Twitter, but
yeah, my understanding is when the PUP list that they can bring it. This is the first, the soonest they could have brought him off.
That's right. Yeah, Monday was right.
And Dana, once you bring him off the PUP list, there are 21 days to get him on the 53-man roster, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
They don't have to bring him off now. Everything we've heard, how like everyone likes to speculate about what's going on and never trust coaches and GMs, what they say. They assume everything's screens, but sometimes GMs and coaches tell you the truth of what they plan to do, right? And from the beginning, what they've been saying is when Kyler's ready, we're going to bring him back. Not before then and not after then, right? And, there's been all this rampant speculation that they're going to keep him shut down for the whole season for various reasons. And that was just pure speculation, no actual inside information. So I think what's going on is he's progressing well, doing the work, and he's just not at that point yet. He is not at the point yet where they feel like in his recovery that he's within that 21-day window. Jordan's saying it's only been 9 months since the surgery, so I think what's going to happen is sometime within the next 2 to 3 weeks, get him off the PUP list, get him active, Jordan's saying, I think we're looking at week 8 at the earliest, but week 10 is what he's speculating. I could see it maybe a little earlier, but yeah, I think it's somewhere around there-ish, midway-ish of the season. Like I mentioned, I think I mentioned this earlier, there were like 3 players released. There was a lot of speculation about, there's like him and the cornerback Garrett Williams, rookie, who has been kind of, on the non-football injury list, I think, or has been injured, hasn't started. And so there's speculation that, who's going to be brought back. But I don't think they're going to be activating Kyler yet. I think they will when he's ready, and I think he'll play. Real quick, I got back to the Constitution with a super chat. Thank you so much. Really appreciate longtime support of the channel. Really appreciate you. With all the personnel that left and K1 and Buddha out, Watkins and 3 more defenders out, we balled to the surprise of 49ers management and coaches. Wait till we get a full squad. Listen, I think we played hard, and I think folks are sometimes forgetting that this team in the second half, this Cardinals team, could be, I'm not going to say a team that's like pushing for the playoffs, but a team that you don't want to be playing if your playoffs are on the line, right? Mm-hmm. Kyler Murray back in a system that might be really good for him with a coach. Petzing's done a really nice job. Oh, yeah. The fact that this offense is so effective and efficient with Dobbs, right? And we like Dobbs, but he's still a career backup. What happens when you get Kyler back with Michael Wilson 8 games further into his career, right? Hollywood Brown, his buddy from college, right? Rondale Moore, who's got crazy speed. James Conner running like nobody's business. With all that, and maybe the tight ends have struggled a little bit, but they get things going. The defense, if Buddha's back, maybe there'll be a little bit. The defense is always going to be a little bit of an issue, but like this team could be a team you don't want to mess with when your season's on the line, right? And I don't know, it wouldn't shock me if that second matchup against the Niners if we come out with the W with Kyler back. I mean, Cardinals have beat the Niners before in years where the Niners were the better team overall, right? So thank you for your super chat. Really appreciate you and your support. Thank you so much. Real quick while I'm at, let me say hey to a couple folks who jumped here. Mikey, thank you for being here. If we're not in the mix for the playoffs, there's no need to bring Kyler back this year. Just roll with us. I think they want to bring him back to see him in the system. I think you want to do that. So I am for bringing him back, but I know a lot of people feel that way, Mikey, but appreciate you. Really great support of the channel. We got Mazaki Felix. Thanks for being here. Murray probably won't be back until after Thanksgiving. I think Murray, I think is what probably typo. Maybe I could see him before then.
I was like, Murray. I was like, who?
Yeah, I think it's just like a typo. I get those too. So, I mean, I think the Cardinals, going into the season, we've talked about this. People thought they were going to be some people thought they were going to be the worst team in the NFL by far, one of the worst rosters. People were calling it the worst roster they'd ever seen. I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think it was a great roster, especially on the defensive side, but they've already shown, and people are recognizing that this team, even though they're 1-3, they've been in 3 of the 4 games, one against a really good Dallas team, or at least a team that's supposed to be really good.
I didn't see it. I sure as hell didn't see it, but allegedly, I mean, put a star on that one, allegedly. But
right. So if this team plays this hard, and then you get Kyler back, so
surprises.
Yeah.
I think they could be a dangerous team when Kyler comes back. And you mentioned we got swept by the Cardinals in 2021, and that was the season we went to the Super Bowl. So you never know. Kyler always presents us problems because of what he can do mobility wise, and he's got a rocket for an arm. So yeah, if he's under center when we play the Cardinals next, it'll definitely make the game much more difficult. That's for sure.
Yeah, for
Be
sure.
fun to watch.
Yeah, 100%. So,
and this team is watchable. I love that. I love that it's watchable. Because last year there were some games where I was like, oh boy, there ain't enough alcohol in the world. There ain't enough, man.
I mean, the last season that was like that was the 2018 season with Josh Rosen. That was a rough year, right?
Yeah. Oh man, try to forget about that.
Oh, you and me both, man. That was the year I gave up the Sunday ticket because it was whatever the price, and that was a good year to give it up. That was
I'd say so. Yeah, that's a good year. Yeah, I'd say so. Oh boy.
And JJ Harrison, thanks for being here. I feel like Cardinals fans forget Kyler's the guy dealing with the worst head coach possible.
I've been saying that. I've been saying that. He was that. I blame Cliff for a lot of it. I really do. I mean, I know no one's perfect, but I blame Cliff, and that whole system did not seem to work. It did not. So I'm with you, JJ Harrison.
Cliff seems like a good guy.
Yeah, for sure.
But it just wasn't working.
I mean, you guys cleaned house. You guys got new GM, new head coach.
That's the way they had to do it after that. Yeah. I think you had to. I mean, that was a disaster. Especially watching the Hard Knocks. Oh, that was hard to watch. That was so hard to watch.
Yeah.
Man.
Didn't the offensive line coach get fired like mid-season? Like it was.
Yeah, he got sent home from the Mexico City game. He got sent home from Mexico City.
Yeah. I mean, you sometimes hear players get sent home, but a coach, like that's crazy.
So
spent a lot of time in Margaritaville, man.
I mean, I'm not gonna. From what I've heard, there was some alleged inappropriate behavior.
Yeah.
The kind that you fire someone for.
Right.
So,
yeah. Justifiably fired, but still pretty crazy that what a season. Oh boy. That was
100%. So again, people do forget how good Kyler could be. And I think I've said this before, so folks who watch content probably have heard this, but like Drew Petzing, offensive coordinator for the Cardinals. And there was someone I follow on Twitter, and it escapes me who it was, but an analyst who's got a lot of followers. Who's pretty good at what he does, says something about Drew Petzing as maybe one of these next head coaching candidates. Like already, like he's showing some things, right? His first year offensive coordinator. So that's that. When people outside of Arizona start at least talking or whispering about our coaches, that tells you they've built. Yeah, it's a good sign.
Yeah.
And he comes from the Cleveland kind of offense, which Cleveland's having their struggles. Maybe there's just karma in the universe from a certain Mr. Watson, right? Yeah, but
I hope so.
Right. But I always point back to what the Browns did in that one season when Baker Mayfield had his best season as a Brown. They ran the ball a lot, right, with the two-headed monster, right, that they had, right, and really effective running game. And they also did a lot to kind of make his job easier. They did a lot of bootlegs, rolled him out, made a situation where you only had to kind of worry about half the field, and did some things that made that a little easier for him. And he had this really great efficient season in that offense. Now, I am a person who believes that Kyler Murray has better arm talent and definitely better leg talent than Baker Mayfield. I also think he's a better decision maker. Sometimes you can question his decisions with the ball, but I think overall he's generally a better quarterback in pretty much every facet than Baker Mayfield. So I just envision, what does Kyler do with an offensive coordinator who understands how to build an offense that plays to the strengths of a quarterback? And you think about, one of the knocks on Kyler is, can he see the middle of the field? Well, you roll him out, right, in bootlegs, although that field gets clear, right? It clears the clutter in front of him in terms of the offense, the trenches, right? And also, one of the big issues with Kyler you saw was pressure, especially interior pressure, and those sacks where they, and where he couldn't quite hit the ejector seat quick enough, right? And got out of the pocket. Well, if you're rolling him out there, you don't have to worry about that. He's already out in space, and then that creates this huge problem for defenses. So, like, is he going to throw it or run it? He can do both really well. So I'm really fascinated by it and intrigued to see what Drew Petzing is going to kind of, draw up for Kyler when he gets back. And as much as people talked about that Kyler spent so many years in the offense that Cliff, ran, and that he knew that well, and is he going to adjust? Yeah, we haven't seen him in this real NFL offense, but I don't know. I think it could be pretty special. So I'm loving it. Kind of intrigued. Yeah. Let me get a couple.
Would you say Kyler is a good leader?
So this is the question, right? What do you think, Tyler? Why don't you jump in and I'll give my thoughts?
Actually, it's funny. I had a conversation with a girlfriend and some other friends the other day about this subject. People could say, "Oh, he's a brat. He's this. He's that." I think from what I've seen, just going to the practices this year, earlier in the year, seeing him do video and all that stuff, I've seen a change in him. I've seen something. I don't know if it was the injury humbled him or whatever it may be, but I feel like he is a different Kyler in a good way. I'm very excited to see him take that leadership role. I think it's in him. I think this coaching staff, him being on the sideline, is bringing that out personally. That's what I see in him. So, yeah, I'd say so.
I think, I've been a Kyler defender for a long time, and he took a lot of heat. I think some of that heat was unfair. I think he's just a little bit of a kind of a little bit of an aloof person. And I think he's just kind of a kid of his generation. And I work at a university. I teach at a university. I'm around, kind of that generation, well, even a little younger than them all the time. So for me, I was like, he just reminds me of the kids I teach. He's not a bad kid. He's just a kid, and maybe he's got a little, some sort of attitude that rubs some people the wrong way. But I think that's just his aloofness and his personality, but I think he had room to mature. Most people do. Larry Fitzgerald, right? The ambassador of the Arizona Cardinals, one of the most respected men in the league, talks about how he was immature his first couple of years, right? So, yeah, he had some room to mature. I think I think the fact that he's maybe a little more introverted, it's tougher for him to do that. But I've liked the things I've seen. He's committed to being in the building. What I respect probably more than anything is as much heat as he took, and as much as he became the whooping boy of the NFL, like the national media just loved picking on him and the Cardinals. I mean, they just were like, it was like, blood in the water and sharks. Like the Cardinals were just the team everyone wanted to beat up on. with all that was going on and all the criticism he took, he kind of just kept quiet and worked. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, we didn't hear, he wasn't going out there lashing out. He had the one press conference where he kind of came out and addressed this stuff. But even at that, he was like humble, and he's like, hey, you know, I tell you, I appreciate that you all think I can do this without film study, but to me, that's disrespectful to the guys I'm playing against. They work hard, and I can't compete at the level without doing that. He just kind of, kind of tuned out the noise, didn't come out and lash. To me, that showed maturity.
Yeah.
Put his head down and is like, I'm going to prove people wrong through my work. So again, I know I'm a Kyler defender. I have been for a long time, but I do think he's becoming a better leader, and I think people are going to respect the way he kind of put his head down and just stuck to it. So real quick, good.
I was just going to say, yeah, oh, go ahead.
You go. I was going to say hey to the folks in the chat, but you go, and then we'll get to the chat.
Okay, all right. I just want to say, from an outsider perspective, with Kyler being, it seems like he's been immature in the past, scrubbing his Instagram, and not necessarily being a leader, or at least that's what it just seems like it. I mean, for a team to put in the contract, you have to study a certain amount of hours a week. Usually you don't see that in contracts, and I don't know why the Cardinals let that out, or the agent let that out. Someone let it out. So from an outsider perspective, to see that, it seems like he has some maturing to do. He needs to grow up. He's a young guy, as you mentioned, Joe, from the younger generation. But the thing is, he's the face of the franchise. Like, he's the face of $1 billion franchise in the NFL. So it seems like he does. He's got some growing up to do. I have nothing against Kyler. I hope he does well, except when he plays the Niners. He's obviously super fun to watch with all he can do on the football field. But I guess I want to see it. Like, I know you guys have said he's made strides, but some things that he's done in the past, it definitely stood out. But I hope he turns it around, and hopefully he's the franchise quarterback for the Cardinals for years to come. I know he just signed a big contract. And I know scrubbing the IG, I guess that's the new thing nowadays when you want a new contract, right? Debo did it with the 49ers. I wasn't happy about it. So I guess that's just how you negotiate contracts now, through the public. That's how you do it. You show your displeasure with the team, and eventually they'll cave in. But like Bird Gang said, he's super chill. He's just trying to keep people happy and securing a future for himself. Like, but it's I guess it's different when you're the face of the franchise. But hey, I hope he turns it around. I hope he recovers well from this torn ACL. I hope he plays. Honestly, I hope he plays against the Niners. It'll definitely make the game a lot more exciting because of all the things he can do. And hey, he's beat us several times in the past, so he is a problem on the field, that's for sure. But I'm rooting for him. I got nothing against him.
Yeah. Bird Gang, thanks for being here, by the way. Want to give you a shout out. And I think Bird Gang earlier point out, the biggest I saw Kyler smile was after the Hail Murray. Then the smiles just slowly went away over time. I see it again when I see video of him with Gannon. Right. So that's, I think, something to be optimistic about. Decimus and a couple of people mentioned this, and I agree. I think his agent caused him some big issues with his approach. Eric Burkhart, his agent, I think he's changed. The key would be what happens when adversity hits again. Yeah. And I think his agent, man, was kind of an issue. His agent put out that statement that was just really weird and got panned, rightly so.
So weird. It was just odd.
And like, just so many things. So I hope that Kyler's learned from that. Again, I'm like I said, I'm optimistic because of the fact that he hasn't kind of lashed out back. He just kind of worked hard. So you don't have to be super vocal to be a leader. There are other ways to be a leader. And so maybe he's kind of just a little bit more of the work hard, quiet leader. We'll see. But yeah, a couple other folks, the agents, right? So we'll see, right? So
agent wants to get the most money they can get because they only get a percentage but then they don't have to necessarily deal with the backlash that the player receives. So it's a tough situation. Like I said, Debo did the same thing. A lot of Niner fans were pissed. He was liking, pictures of him in different uniforms and all this stuff. And
it's all a game, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's all a game. It's all business, unfortunately. But
and this is looking a little back, but this is my read on what happened with the whole contract and the agent thing. So, typically, as we all know, quarterbacks, rookie deal, after the third year is when you can negotiate that extension. Right. It came time. Those extensions usually get done in the summer after the draft, right? And the ownership and front office was saying, hey, we want to do it then. But Burkhardt wanted to bring them to the table before the draft. And I think the reason he wanted to do that was because if you can threaten as the agent that, hey, if you don't give us the money we want, Kyler wants out and you're going to have to trade him. That leverage carries more weight before the draft, because if you play it out and say, okay, yeah, he does ask for a trade, that trade kind of needs to happen before the draft because you want a draft pick, right? From this year's draft for that. So I think what was going on is Burkhardt put that letter out to put pressure from the court of public opinion to try to get fans to put pressure on Bidwell and at the time Keim to come to the negotiating table early so that he had more leverage so he could get a bigger contract for Kyler. The ownership said, no, we're going to do it in the summer when they have more leverage. And that's typically when it's done. I think that's what was going on. That was the intention, but it was an atypical thing. It was so unusual, that letter. It was the agent was trying to be too smart. He got too cute, and it backfired in terms of public relations. But that is more or less what, at least from my perspective and looking at the way these things play out, that's what I think was happening.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I know it's a little bit ancient history at this point, but I want to get us out of here an hour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and have each of you give us like your last thoughts from the game and moving forward for the Cardinals. And then also let everyone know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and what they can expect from your content. So Jay, you are our guest from outside the Cardinals world. Why don't you go first, please?
Hey, absolutely. Hey, I appreciate the invite tonight. I'm looking forward to coming on to your show again in December when we talk about the next Niners and Cardinals post game. But yeah, I go by Jay in the Bay, represent the Niners. I've been YouTubing for a few years now. I do pretty much just one show a week, typically with 3 other guys. We call it Straight Out of the Bay. We're all from the Bay, and then we all talk about the Niners post game. We do that Monday nights on all of our channels, basically. And yeah, that's where you can find me. I appreciate G12 putting the link in the chat. Appreciate that, G12. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was obviously an excellent game from a 49er perspective. We put up 30 points again. I think that's definitely something I want to continue to see. I think the more obviously the offense scores, the less we need the defense to be super dominant, even though they've been pretty good. But I've noticed with Wilkes, he runs kind of like a bend but don't break defense. Like he'll play the corners 6 to 7 yards off the ball. We'll allow that 5-6 yard catch, but we don't want to allow anything over the top. And we don't want to allow huge plays. Obviously, it doesn't always work because the Cardinals got some big plays, but I like the direction that the Niners are in. How could you not? We're undefeated. We got a hell of a game against Dallas, and I'm just hoping we stay healthy throughout the season. And, I could see us playing in Vegas in February if all things go well. And from a Cardinals perspective, I think you guys are talented. And I think you guys will be better when we play you in December. That's for sure, especially if Kyler's under center. But I thought Dobbs played well. He didn't have any interceptions in the game. That's huge. I just think you guys wanted to run the ball more, but when you got down, you couldn't. It didn't really make sense. So definitely respect the Cardinals. Hey, it's the NFC West rival, and I'm looking forward to the next time we link up for sure.
For sure. Well, I'll tell you, some of the guys, good job, Jay. You a cool dude. I think folks who don't know your content are seeing what I already know about you, Jay, that you are a good dude. Always love
Appreciate
hanging out
that.
with you. Tyler, first time on TCR Live. Appreciate having you here. Let folks know where to find you, and then any parting shots that you have.
Yeah, I got my Twitter handle down there, or X, whatever they decide to call it. Legend of Tyler. You'll see me mostly in the Coyote circles. Tripping Notes Pod, host on there. Writer for Arizona Sports Underground, also for the Coyotes. So my Cardinals a little bit rusty there. Got a couple articles in the works about the Coyotes, and I thought I had, when you told me to come on this, I actually wanted to compare it to the early Coyotes rebuild that just exited. Same kind of thing. We got a brand new coach who built a great culture. And now with those little pieces, you just start with the little pieces. Oh, Keller did good this piece did good. So hang in there. We got the culture building up, got the pieces. We're going to finish it out, and it's going to be great. It's going to be worth it. So, and do pay attention to your Coyotes this year. Great year to pay attention. So that's it.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you. We'll have you again. Gannibal, good job,
you.
Tyler, too. This was
Thank
excellent. Yeah, a lot of fun with both you guys. And yeah, always enjoy hanging out with you guys. Appreciate you all in the chat being here. Just really love doing this and really appreciate all the folks that support the channel. So I'm going to put up the channel member shout outs. If you want to support the channel on a more regular basis, that's a way you can do that. It helps to support what I do here. But I appreciate, watching, hitting like, commenting, that helps feed the algorithm. That all helps. So I just appreciate you all. So we're gonna get the shout outs up, get the theme song, and we'll get out of here. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.
Hey, yo, it's Joe Mo. He's the host of Mock Draft Monday on the Cardinals Show. So join the live, hit like and subscribe. Enjoy the podcast tonight. Enjoy the podcast tonight.